guys, let's be honest, $92 just to listen to a radio in your car, that's just too much. Now, I'm sure by now you've heard that it's a mandatory by law for you to get a radio license before you can renew your car license, as well as get insurance. Zimbabweans are now required to pay a whopping $92 annually to the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, the national broadcaster. Now, obviously, this has caused the public outcry, rightfully so, for some of the reasons which I'll outline shortly. Now, let me say this. In theory, I have nothing against radio and TV licenses. Actually, this is common practice the world over. Many countries around the world do this. The funds are then used to promote local content and fund operations of the broadcaster, which is fair game. My only issue is that is too much money to be paying for a service that people hardly use. Now, personally, I don't even connect to these radio stations. I use Spotify to listen to music and podcasts. The truth is that technology has outpaced FM radio. And there's a reason why governments the world over are no longer collecting licenses for radios. And the only other African country is Nigeria. But this is done at a state level. For example, in Imo State, they charge 2,000 naira for a car radio license. Now, this is equivalent to around $1.26 now. Now, I'm not sure if this is for a term or a whole year, but either way, this is a very, very small amount. Now, what makes the Zimbabwean situation worse is that motorists are required to pay $92, but the Zimbabwean minimum wage is $150. Businesses are required to pay $200. Now, most African countries collect revenues from TV licenses. And apart from Zimbabwe, the country with the most expensive TV license is South Africa at 265 rands, which is equivalent to $15 for a year. Then there's Namibia with 200 Namibian dollars, which is equivalent to $13. And then there's Botswana, they pay 120 pula, which is equivalent to $10. Then there's Lesotho for 100 maloti, which is equivalent to $6. And then there's Eswatini, they pay 100, okay, let me just check what sort of money they use. Let me just Google that. Lilang. Okay, so in Eswatini, they use 100 lilangeni, which is equivalent to $7. In Malawi, they pay 5,000 kwacha, which is equivalent to $6. In Zambia, they pay 50 Zambian kwacha, which is equivalent to $3. Now, if you're coming from those countries, can you verify if these figures are correct? I got them on the internet. Now, in Zimbabwe, they pay a whopping $100. That is a lot of money. Now, the reason why I say we need to revisit some of these laws and make them a little bit more flexible is that in Zimbabwe, if you just own a TV set, you're required to pay for a TV license. Even if you use the TV for maybe as a computer screen, you should pay a license, or you use it maybe for CCTV. Yes, you're required to pay $100. So in total, they are saying that if you have a car and you have a TV at home, you should be paying 200 United States dollars a year to ZBC. That is a lot of money, and I don't think those sort of prices are justified this day and age. To make matters worse, Zimbabwe imports most of its vehicles from Japan, and radio receivers from Japan in most cases do not even support many ZBC channels. The only local channels motorists can listen to are Classic 263 and Star FM. But then the latter does not benefit from the tax collected from radio licenses. Zimbabwe has an estimated 1.2 million vehicles on the road, of which 800,000 pay their licenses, meaning that ZBC stands to earn roughly $74 million each year. Now, seriously, I think that the government should be considering lowering some of these license fees to reflect the reality on the ground. If they charge something maybe like $20 a year for a radio license, I'm sure many people would actually pay for their radio licenses, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. Or better yet, I think that the government may also consider, let's say, a unified package that caters for both your home TV and your radio in your vehicle, right? Maybe they charge something like $25. I think that's a fair amount. If they do that, then you know what, I'm sure people will be willing to pay if those are the amounts. But you know, paying $92 a year and $100, that's a lot. You know, you have fees, you know, you have transport, you have a lot of things to be paying for, and to be paying such an amount just to listen to a radio, I don't think it's feasible at the end of the day, you know. Now, if you don't have a radio in your vehicle, the government has stated that citizens can apply for an exemption. Although my hunch tells me that will not be an easy process. So, those are my thoughts regarding these radio licenses. What do you think of the newly introduced radio licenses that are mandatory? Leave a comment down below. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.